Hello everyone, welcome back to the Power BI project tutorials. This is the introduction video of our Global Terrorism Data Analysis project. This particular data set is concerned with the global terrorism data, that is, over the past few decades, what is the scene of the terrorism all over the globe. It provides us various factors through which we can analyze and find out the various factors, the various weapon types, the various groups, and the various targeted citizens. On the basis of the data set, I have created a Power BI report, which we are going to do as well in this particular project tutorials. So let us have a glimpse at that particular report. This is the report that I have created, taking into account the various factors from the global terrorism dataset. Like, I have got information about the type of attack. So the most successful type of attack or the most deadly type of attack is the bombing. The private citizens are the targeted most. Explosives are the weapons that have given the most deadliest success rate to the terrorist groups. South Asian region is most targeted, and this is how the terrorism looks all over the globe. Taliban group has got the most number of attacks, followed by Islamic State of Iraq and many others. This is the terrorist attacks count by year, which was very low in the initial years, but after the 2000s, it has been increasing rapidly, but in the recent years, the trend has gone a little bit down. And then finally, there are a few data that we can have a look at. So this is the kind of a Power BI report that we would be creating as well. So what's the delay? Let's just get into it. Hello everyone, welcome back to the Power BI projects tutorials. This video is the continuation of the introduction video about the Global Terrorism Dataset Analysis. In this video, we have already imported the dataset into our Power BI. The dataset is available in the form of a CSV file. So what steps you need to do is that you need to go to this Get Data option. Let me just show you. You need to go to this Get Data option. Here you will find the option of text/CSV. Why are we using this option is because our dataset is available in the form of a CSV file. So you can just select this and click on open. Then you need to wait for a few seconds till that particular dataset is loaded into Power BI. Okay. Now CSV files are the comma separated value files, means all the values are separated by a comma. That is why the delimiter is already taken as a comma. So we are not going to concern ourselves with all the details because that's not what we are going to do. Power BI already does all this stuff for us. All we need to do is just click on this transform data option because there are a large number of inconsistencies that are available in the particular data set which we need to remove. But first of all, what we are going to do is we are just going to take a look at what information is important to us, right? Like we have around 135 columns. Here you can see on the bottom left corner the number of the columns. So it's 135 columns, but we won't be needing all those columns because most of the data is either blank or is full of inconsistencies. Now here you can see like event ID. So it is not a valid value, like and then we have got many other information which are not needed, like the summary of the attack. So all the attack summary is not present, only a few summaries are present, and also we cannot do anything with the help of the summary, right? So we won't be using all these columns. So let me just select those columns quickly which I would be using. So I would be using the year column. I would be using the country column. Now if you just hover over here, you will be seeing these different columns which you might use. Here we have country and country text. So in country we have been given codes for the countries which is of no use to us. Instead of that, we would just be using this particular country. So let's just control click on this particular column to select it. Then similarly we have region and the region text. So let's just go with region over here. in the form of a region text. Then ultimately we can just change its value. Okay. Next we have these values like latitude and longitude. So if you want, you can select those values so as to create the map visualization, because the map visualization which we saw in the introduction video uses some of the geographical data to create that kinds of positions on the map. It may be latitude and longitude values, it may be the city value, or it may be even the country values. Since we have already selected country for our data set, so I'm not going to go with the latitude and the longitude values, right? But if you want, you can pick up those values as well for your analysis. Next we have all these things that we are going to ignore over here. Then we have the success, something that is the success rate, which means how many attacks were successful and how many attacks were unsuccessful. So we have got 1 and 0 as the values. So what I'm going to do is just select that. Next we have the attack type text, that means what kind of a attack type it was. So let me just select that as well for the type of the attack. Next we have attack type 2 and attack type 3, which is not containing much data, so let's just ignore that. Next we have target type 1 text, so let's just select that, and let's just ignore this target subtype because target type is sufficient. Okay. Then we have the nationality of the target, like from which nationality the targets were most selected, so let's just go with that as well. Next we have the other informations as well, like as you can see most of the data over here is blank, so we are not going to go with it. This is a good data, that is the G name or the group name of the terrorist organization that took responsibility for the attack. So let's just select this. Now let's just see what all columns we have. We have a motive, which is again in the form of a text, which won't be of much use to us in the case of a Power BI report. And we can just hover over it to see more columns to find any of these, like the weapon type, which type of the weapon was used. So this is important. Next we have a large number of blank rows and a blank column, so let's just ignore that, we won't be using them. Next we have the proportionality of the attack. So that means what was the effect of the attack, like how many people were affected, whether it was a minor, whether it was a major, or whatever it was. So here also we have lots of blank data, that means most of the information is not available to us. That's why we have to ignore this particular values, right? Next we have, let's just see if any other information is valuable to us. So now we have the ransom data, which is again only applicable in the cases of the kidnappings, which can be scarce, pretty scarce, and we have a lot of data which is of no use to us. So what I'm going to do is go with this remove other columns option. Now when I do that, what will happen is all the other columns would be removed and only the columns which we have selected would be available for us. So now we have a total of 9 columns that are available. Okay, and we would be using these 9 columns only. Now the thing is that here the different column names are like weird, looking weird. So let me just change it to something more meaningful, like just change it to year. Just instead of a country text, just change it to country or nation or anything you want. Region text, we can just change to region. Now what I'm doing is just providing a better name for all of these values. And why is it important? It is important because that whenever we are creating any kind of visualizations in Power BI desktop, then what happens is whatever the name of the column is, that would be taken in reference for the name of the visualization. So it is always essential to provide proper names to the visualizations by providing proper column headers, so that you don't have to stress about this later on, right? So we can just provide the values just as simple as that, and we can write name of group. and then we have the weapon type. So let's just write weapon type. Now what I'm going to do is just try to check if any of the blank values are present. Now how do you check that? Let's just tell you that if you just go onto this column, this drop down, actually you would get a list of all the values that are present. So these are the values that are present. Okay, and that's it. No blank value. If you just go to the name of the group, we have got different group names, but there are no blank values, as you can see, right? Unknowns can be taken into account because these are not blank. It's just like the terrorist group is not known. Okay, so we can just remove the blanks value from the target's nationality and click on OK. So all the records that are included in this, which considered the blank values, have been removed. Since our dataset is huge, contains thousands of rows, so we can afford to remove some of the blank values from it. Okay, but if your dataset is small or the blank values are too much, you have to deal with it in some other way. Then we have the target type. So here also we don't have any blanks. We have a type of attack, no blanks here. We have a success rate, which is either 0 or 1. The attack was either successful from the point of the view of the terrorist organizations, or it was not. Then we have region. Again, we have got all the valid values. For the country also, we have got all the valid values. And for the year also, we have got all the valid values. Now we are getting only 1970 and 1971, but the year data is through decades. It's because only a few rows are loaded, so that's values are only shown to us. Okay. So this is the final data set that we have extracted from our humongous data set of 135 columns. That is, only these columns are relevant for us to analyze. Now what I'm going to do is just rename it to, let's say, final data, like this, and then go on to this home tab and make sure to click on this close and apply button. Now when you click that, the Power Query editor would be closed and the changes that you have done would be applied into the dataset. Now whatever changes you have done will not be applied to the original CSV file that is present on your screen or on your desktop. The changes would be applied only into the version of the dataset that is imported into Power BI, so that we can use it, we can work with it. So Power BI is going to take a few seconds to just load that data, and once it is loaded, we would be able to use it to create the different kinds of visualizations. Here now the dataset is loaded, and as soon as the dataset is loaded, in the fields pane you can see that this final data is available. If you just click on this drop down, so all of these information are now available to us for usage. Now what we're going to do is start creating visualizations. Now there are two things that you must keep in mind while creating the visualizations, and that is that every column or every thing that is present in this table must be used in one way or the other. Okay, because these are the relevant columns, so each and every visualization or all the visualizations combined might be using each one of them, right? No column header should be left. That is the basic criteria of creating visualizations. Now what type of the visualizations would be chosen, what data would be chosen, this is something that we would be taking a look at broadly in the upcoming videos. That is all for this video. Thanks for watching. Hello everyone, welcome back to the Power BI project tutorials. These tutorials are brought to you so that you can understand the creation of the different projects and the reports in Power BI, how the different concepts are used and how the different visualizations are created, so that you are able to show the best information in a way that attracts the user's eye. So this is the Global Terrorism dataset analysis, and we are going to continue our discussion from the previous videos by starting to create visualizations. In the previous video, we cleaned our dataset, which was present in the form of a CSV file, and we got this as the final dataset. Now we are going to work on it to create the different kinds of visualizations. So what happens over here is, if you just take a look at this whole data that we have got, you will find that we are getting something as a success rate. So this tells that according to the point of view of the terrorist organizations, which attacks were successful and which attacks were unsuccessful. Like which attacks were the deadliest and which attacks were caught or were not able to go into the impact that they had imagined. So this is an important parameter to analyze the different things, like the type of attack. So there are different types of attacks. So we are going to see that which attacks were the most successful or which were the deadliest. Okay. So what we can do is create visualizations out of a success rate and a type of attack. Now what type of visualization we should create? If you just open this visualizations pane, here are all the visualizations that are supported by Power BI. Now if we talk about the type of the attack, so it could be different types of attacks, right? It could be explosives, it could be shooting, it could be anything. So these could be like, if I take top 5 attacks, so they can be arranged in the form of a pie chart or a donut chart to just show the proportion that they have taken out of the total number of attacks, right? So let's just get that in the form of a donut chart. So how do we create visualizations? We can just click on this visualizations pane on that particular visualization that we want to create. Now this visualizations blueprint is available. We can just change its position and its size and add the different data into it as per our choice, right? Now the thing is that if you just go to this particular focus mode, then what happens is that particular visualization is opened in a full screen mode for a better understanding of how the data is organized, right? So let's just get this type of attack into the legend part and the success rate into the values part. Now the thing is, success rate, if you remember, had two values, 1 and 0. 1 that means successful and 0 means unsuccessful. So whenever we are using this particular success rate, we are not talking about the unsuccessful attacks, we are just talking about the successful attacks. So a filtering criteria should be available for us to apply on this particular value, right? So how do we do that? Let's just move this. We have something called a filters pane, and in this filters pane we have filters on this page and filters on all pages option. So whatever filter you apply over here, that would be applied on either the whole page, that is all the visualizations that are a part of that particular page, or on all the pages that are created in this particular Power BI report. Okay, so what I'm gonna do is just grant this success rate and drag it over here, and I'm going to apply a basic filtering. The basic filtering will give me a choice of the values, so I'm just going with this one. Okay, and that's it. The filter is applied. Now if I just get the success rate values over here, then what happens is I'm only getting the attacks that were successful or that were the most deadliest. Now what I can do is, we are getting so many types of attacks, like 3, 6, around 9 attacks we are getting, but they are all like having a very small composition. The most of the area is taken by bombing, then armed assault, then assassination, and so on. So what I'm going to do is, instead of getting all the type of attacks, I'm just getting top 3 attacks types. Okay, so I can just go to this particular data, like this filters on this visual, which is automatically created as soon as you drag and drop the values into this visualizations pane. That means whatever values you filter over here would be applied only on this particular visual and not anywhere else. So let's just go to this type of attack. Here we have a kind of a filtering known as the top n filtering. It helps to show you the top or the bottom n items. Like I wanted the top 3 types of attacks, right? If you want the bottom 3, you can just select bottom from here, but I'm just going with top. So how many? There you have to type the number, like 3. Then by which criteria you want. So I wanted by success rate. So let's just get the success rate into here and click on apply filter. As soon as you do that, you see we are having just 3. The bombing, the armed assault, and the assassination. Now what all changes we can do into the way that this particular visualization is looking. First of all, let's just go back to report to see what we are getting in the heading is success rate by type of attack. So this is the heading or the title of this chart, which is nothing but just a combination of the values that we are getting, like success rate by type of attack. So that is why we changed the column headers of all the columns in the Power Query editor so as to get some standard names, otherwise they would be like mixed up with all the underscores etc, which won't be looking very good, and we had to manually change the titles for each of the visualizations, which would be an overhead, right? So this is sufficient for us. This is a good looking title. Now what all we can do is just change the way this is looking. Like first of all, if I just go into this legend part, I can just change its position to the top center. So now the legend is available over here. Next we have is the data colors. So let's just change it into the different shades of red. Now why are we doing this? It's because we want to show that it is a deadly thing. It's something horrible that's happening. That is what we want to depict through this. So that is why we are choosing different shades of red. But that's totally your choice. You want some other shades, you can of course go with them. This is just a personal choice that I'm going to go with. Okay, you can just select these different colors, different shades, and that would help you. Okay, actually we can just select this one. Yeah, so assassination, armed assault, and bombing. Next what we are going to do is work on this detail labels. So I'm just going to change its position from outside to inside. So what will happen is we would be getting something like this. If I just go back to the report so as to see how it is looking finally, this is how it is looking, but the legend is not looking very good, so I'm just going to get it on the other side, right? So let's go to the legend position, and instead of top center, let's just go with the left center, right? Yeah, so now it is looking good. Now the thing is that we are getting 77k, 15k, etc. values in this, right? Suppose we don't want these kinds of values, we want exact numbers. So how do we do that? We have something called display units, just select it to none. So we are getting exact numbers like 76,922 were the bombing attacks and so on. So this also tells us the number of the rows that we have in our, data set, which is a huge number. So this is how our visualization is looking finally. Now what we can do is we can just similarly create different kinds of visualizations. Like suppose we want to create a visualization on the type of attack. So what we can do is, okay, we have created on the type of the attack. Suppose we want to create it on the basis of a target type, right? So what we can do is copy this visualization and paste it here using Ctrl+C and Ctrl+V, simple keyboard shortcuts. Now what will happen is we would be able to get the same visualization for us. The only changes we want, we can just make them very easily. So let's just go into the focus mode, and instead of the type of attack, we are going to get the target type into this particular visualization. Again, we are going to make some changes, like first of all, remove this type of attack filter and apply the target type filter. Again, we are going with the top 3 values. So let's just select top 3, and the criteria is going to be the success rate, and click on apply filter. So this is exactly what we are getting. All we need to do is change the position of the legend maybe to the top center here, yeah, and we can just change the colors of the data, like the different shades of red. Okay, so let's just select the different colors here like this. Okay, go back to the report, and this is what we are getting. Private citizens and property, then military, and then police were the most targeted groups of the individuals or target groups. Next, what do we have is we can create another kind of a donut chart on the basis of the weapon type, like which weapon was the deadliest. So again, what we can do is we have copied the visualization. We can just use Ctrl+V to paste that visualization over here. We can just work with its size later on, or don't need to stress about that right now. All we need to do is go into the focus mode and make a few changes, like instead of the type of the attack, we are now looking for the weapon types. And we can just remove this type of attack filters from here, and again we want to apply a top 3 filtering. So let's just go with the top n and select 3, and it's going to be on the basis of a success rate. Click on apply filter. This is what we are getting. Again, what we can do is just make sure that we can just change the position of the legend to a top, and we can just change the data colors to shades of red. So let me just quickly do that. And unknown, let's just change it to this particular shade. Yeah, and go back to the report. So this is what we are getting, which is looking good. What I can do is just change this also, the position of the legend here also in the top, so as to make a uniformity between these 3 visualizations like this. Okay, perfect. Now these 3 visualizations are done, which had the similar kind of characteristics between all of them. That is all for this video. In the next video, we are going to take a look at all the different kinds of visualizations that we are going to create in this particular report. That's all for this one. Thanks for watching. Hello everyone, welcome back to the Power BI projects tutorials. In this video, we are going to continue our discussion about the analysis of the global terrorism dataset. In the previous videos, we have already created these visualizations. We have already seen how to clean the dataset. But in this video, we are going to create a few important visualizations that are going to be a part of our report, and that is the map visualization, right? So without any further ado, let's start the video. Here we have 2 kinds of the maps that we can create in Power BI. That is a map, a normal map, and a filled map. So what is the difference between the two? A normal map, what it is used to do is pinpoint the locations in the form of a particular shape, which we can change. Okay, but this filled map is used to just highlight the whole area with a particular color. Since in this particular scenario, we are going to create a map that is going to show the success rate by country, like which were the attacks that actually killed people in each of the countries, or what was the number of those attacks. So instead of coloring the region in a particular color, we want the size of the bubbles or the size of the circles to differ for a better understanding. So we are going with a map. Why? Because it is the requirement of this particular scenario. So every time you are creating a visualization, you have to keep in mind what is the requirement of your situation. So let me just create a map visualization by clicking on it. The process is as simple as what we created for the previous ones, the donut visualizations that we created. So it's going to be really simple. We have got a blueprint. We can just click on this focus mode to get a better view or a full screen view. Now the thing is what data types we need. We have location, legend, latitude, and the longitude values. In case you have selected the latitude and the longitude values from the dataset, you can directly drop them, drag and drop them into the latitude and the longitude fields. I have not selected them, so I would be using country as a parameter and dropping it into the location. When I do that, Power BI will automatically pinpoint all the locations on this word map, right? As you can see, all the locations are pinpointed on this particular word map. You can use the scroll button of the mouse to scroll in and out of this particular map. Then is the size. So the circles are all of the same size right now, but if you want them to differ in size, you can get any kind of a parameter over here. So I'm going to get a success rate into the size parameter. So as soon as I do that, you can see some circles are bigger, like in India, circle is bigger. In Iraq, the circle is bigger, right? But in other countries, in other places, like here, the circle is smaller. In Kenya, the circle is smaller, like this. So it totally depends upon the number of attacks that we are getting. Now let's make a few changes into this map to make it better looking. The first thing I'm going to do is just go to this format options. The data colors, I'm going to choose a red shade over here, like this. Okay, then I'm just going to go to this bubbles option. Here we have something called as a size. So if you want, -10 is the standard size of all the bubbles. If you want to change it, you can change it, but like you can use the slider as well. So these bubbles are looking too huge, right? So basically this is the size that you can choose. If you're not happy, you can always revert to default by using this option. Next we have is the map controls. We have something called a zoom buttons, which I'm going to toggle on, because now we would have a plus and a minus button so that we can just zoom in or zoom out as per our wish. No need for that scrolling button of the mouse. Next we have is the map styles. So right now the road theme is there. I'm just going to select any theme. You can just choose any themes. I'm just going with a grayscale theme to just depict the deadliness of this dataset, right? And all these information are going to be kept as it is only. So these are the few changes that I have done in the map. Let's go back to the report to show how our map is looking, is coming out as a whole. So yeah, it's looking good. We can always change its size. We can always zoom in or zoom out as per our choice, right? Like this, to get an information over here, like the different countries' data. Now the thing is, we are getting the whole globe's data, but what if we don't want that? We only want the data of a particular country. So how can we do that? We can apply a kind of a filter, special kind of a filter known as a slicer for this purpose. So this is a slicer in Power BI. Let's just employ one. And I'm just going to get this country into this field option, right? As soon as I do that, I will be getting all the country options. Let's go into the focus mode to understand it better. All the possible country values are there, but of course that's not something that we need. We won't be manually selecting the countries. So what we can do is use this kind of a drop down option that helps us to select the type of the slicer. So instead of a list, let's just select a drop down, so that this is the drop down that's available, and from here we can just select the countries. But that's again an extra step. How about if I get an option to just type the name of the country, to just search that particular name of the country and then choose it. So go to these three dots, that is a more options button, and select on the search. Now when you just select on this all, this search is present, so you can just search for any country. Suppose I search for India, right? And then this option is available. I can just select that particular country, so all the data would be changed according to India. Like in the map, only India would be shown. In all these three visualizations, the data respect to India is shown. But if you want to remove this visualization or this filter, what you can do is just go to this drop down and uncheck India from here. Then what happens is all the values would be reverted to a default. So this is a special type of a filter that is applied that gives full control to the user to choose the criteria of filtering. That is known as a slicer in Power BI. That's how we create one. Now the next visualization we are going to create is the success rate by region. So I'm going to employ bar chart for this purpose. Let's just get it here, adjust its size a little bit, so it's looking good right now. Go into the focus mode, and that is the success rate by the region. So let's just get the region into the access part and the success rate into the values part, right? So we are getting the different regions with their success rates. What I can do is just change its color. Let's go to the data colors option and change it to a shade of red, just like this. Then what I can do is again toggle on this data labels, so as to get a label of the data, and the display units I'm just going to go with none, so as to get the exact numbers. Okay. Next what I'm going to do is just select on the show background, and so as to get a background as well for this particular data. Right, if I just go back, so this is what I'm getting, which is looking pretty good as a visualization. I'm happy with it. Okay. Next is the next, let's see that what all are left. So we have name of group that's left as the criteria. We have year as the criteria that's left, right? And everything else is covered, I think. Yeah. So everything else is covered, just name of the group and the year is left. So let's just use some kind of visualizations to employ them as well, like the success rate of the group. So for this we can just get a line chart probably to get the success rate of the group. Let's get name of the group in the axis and the success rate in the values part. Now there are a large number of groups that we are getting. Let's go into the focus mode. So as to apply some kind of a filters over here, right? So the first filter is that we are going to get the top 5 groups only. So let's just apply a top n filter, and I want top 5 groups by the success rate, and click on apply filter. So this is what we are getting, but the most number of things that we are getting is from the unknown group. So that means we have to remove this unknown group. What we can do for this purpose is again get this name of group over here, go to basic filtering, make sure the basic filtering is selected, select all, go to unknown and uncheck this unknown. Okay, so what happens when we do that is only the top 5 groups which actually have a name have been selected. Now the different changes that we've been doing so far is the change of the data colors into a shade of red, the application of a detail label or a data label actually. So that's a data label. Let's just apply one and change its display unit to none and click on show background option, just like this. Okay, now if we just go back to report, let's see how it is looking in the form of a report. So yeah, it's looking pretty good. We are happy with it. If you want, you can just adjust its size every time you want. Okay, both the height and the width as well. Now this is looking pretty good. This is how our report is coming out, which is looking pretty nice. The different changes that you want, you can do as per your wish, right? Like you can add any slicer for the year. That means if you just select a particular year, only that year's data would be visible. So let's just see how we are going to proceed with the different visualizations from here onwards in the next video. That is all for this video. Thanks for watching. Hello everyone, welcome back to the Power BI projects tutorial. This is the Global Terrorism dataset analysis. We have already created this much of a report for our Global Terrorism dataset. In this video, we are going to see a few more visualizations and slicer creation. So first of all, let us take a look at the other slicer we were talking about in the previous video. That was the year slicer. Like this is the whole data we have. Suppose we employ another slicer. So let's just get the slicer over here and drag in this year into the fields option. Now let's make the same changes we did before. Like instead of all these options that we are getting, let's just go with a drop down and with a search option as well. Okay, so the search option won't be available in this year because that is a different kind of a value that we're getting for the year, but the different years would be available, so we can just select any of those years, right? In case you don't want a drop down, you want a list. So this is the list of all of the years that is available for you. You want the between value, so the between value is also present. You can just select this range, or you can just type the range like from 1970 till the year 2000. Okay, and when you press enter, so all the data according to that would be shown to you. Okay, next we have, okay, let's just go with this option because that is actually much more easy to work with. What we can do over here is just change its size to a little bit smaller one like this and put it over here. Also with this, what we can do is just write the year option just like this, so that we can work with it. Like if we just go all the way to the end, so full data would be shown to us, but if you just change the slicer or just add any value, then that particular data would be shown to us. Okay, so this is how it is working. Now let's just get another visualization, that is the success rate by the year. So for this, what we are going to do is actually employ an area chart, a normal area chart actually, not a stacked area chart, and get the year in the axis and the success rate in the values. So this will give us the glimpse of how the things are looking. So this was pretty low. The terrorist attacks rate was pretty low till the 2000s, and then they were extremely high. They reached a peak in the year 2014. But this is only for the successful attacks. In case you don't want for the successful attacks, you want for all the attacks, what you can do is, without removing the filter on the full page of the success rate, what you can do is get the count of year over here. So instead of here, let's just select it as count of year. So that would tell you that how many attacks actually happened, not only about the successful attacks. Just like this, you can do it for any of these visualizations that are shown to you. Okay, so these are the different kinds of things that you can keep in mind while working with the visualizations in order to get the best results for yourself. I'm just going to decrease its size and change its color to a shade of red. So let's just go to data colors and just change it to a shade of red. Now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to change its value also. Like I'm getting count of year by year, which is not looking very good. So instead of count of year, let me just change it to number of attacks. Number of attacks by year. So when I change it to number of attacks, only for this particular visualization, it would be changed to the number of attacks. And that's it. So what else I can do is actually get some labels for it. So let's just work with the labels part. The labels are important because they help you to get a glimpse of the data without much pain. So let's just remove this display unit to a none so as to get the exact numbers. Let's just turn on this background and just toggle its transparency to a 0%, and the color I'm just going to set as a white so as to get a uniformity between these two. Okay, and it is much more visible than the previous ones. Similarly, this also should be changed, right? So let's just go to this format option, data labels. First of all, let's just change its color to white. This would help me to change the color of the numbers or the text that is visible, right? Next, we are just going to toggle the background color transparency to a 0%, just like this. Okay, so it's looking much more clearer now. Now the last but not the least is the usage of the cards. So cards are used to display the information. Let us display some general kind of information, right? Like the total targets, or the total people who died, or the total targets that were taken. So for that, what we can do is get this target type, but not the target type. We are just going to add its count. So count of target type must be added, right? So let's just see how can we do that. Okay, so for this, what we need to do is open up this filters pane, drag this target type into the filters on this visual, go to the top and filtering and select top one. Okay, then in the by value fields, you have to again drag this target type and select the count, that is the count of the target type, and then click on apply filter. Now once the filter is applied, then you can just drag this target type into the field and it would give you the total number of the targets. Okay, or basically the target that was actually, let's just get a card. That's the card visualization. So yeah, that is going to give us the type of the target, the first target type. Here you can just select the count as well. So yeah, this is the count of the target type. Okay, that means these were the total number of targets. So instead of count of the target type, let's just say count of or let's just get highest targeted individuals. Highest targeted individuals. Okay, this is just going to be the text that has been shown over here, just like this. Okay, next we are going to get is the information about the most used weapon, or the most or the deadliest weapon. So we can get its name over here. So what we can do is just copy and paste this particular card over here, and instead of the highest target individuals, let's just get the weapon type. But we have to change the filters as well, right? So let's just remove this filter from here. You can just get the weapon type. Actually, so here is what we have got, the weapon type. The similar thing we are going to do here also, that is, let's just go to the top N filtering. We just want the top one, and that's the count of weapon type. So instead of first weapon type, let's just select count and click on apply filter. Then finally get this weapon type into the fields, so as to get the weapon that was the deadliest. Okay, so how many people were targeted and which weapon was the deadliest? Let's just change its size as well to get a better view at it. And this is exactly how our report is looking finally. Now what happens if you apply these slices? Suppose you apply it on India. So what we get is all the information related to India, that these were the targeted individuals, this was the amount of the individuals that was targeted, and this was the weapon type that was the most deadliest. This is the number of attacks per year. This is the information about the target, about the terrorist groups. This is the region in which it is lying, that is South Asia, and the weapons, the targets, the types of the attacks, everything. You want only for a specific duration, you can select that as well for a more filtered information like this. So this is what we are getting. Next, to make it more visually appealing, what we can do is we can actually add some kind of a picture on the background. If you remember, in the report we added a picture of a bloodshed. So how do we add that? For that, what we can do is we can just go to this visualization format, and here we have this option of a wallpaper. So if you just go to this add image option, you would be able to add those images. Like I have already downloaded this blood image from the internet. If you want, you can add that for an extra effect. So let's just see how it is going to work. Click on open, and right now it's not being shown. The reason is that because each of these visualizations have a background on. So what we need to do is select a visualization, go to format, and toggle it background to off. Once we do that, you can see the image is visible from the background, right? So this is what we need to do for all of these visualizations, one by one, to get the image shown to us. If you want, you can just keep some of the visualizations as it is only, and just work with a few. But now what we have seen is that this image is looking too dark. So what we can do is just work with its opacity. So now it's looking good. Let's just go to the format tab, wallpaper, and here is the transparency. Let's just increase it to around a 95%, right? So now this is how it's looking. This is the final version of the report, and that's it for this particular project. Thanks for watching.